everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jake Stu.
And today we're talking about Son of Batman, released in 2014, directed by Ethan Spalding, written by Joe R. Lansdale from a story by James Robinson, and of course based on the graphic novel written by Grant Morrison and illustrated by Andy Kubert, and starring Jason O'Mara, Stuart Allen, Thomas Gibson, Morena Baccarin, Xander Berkeley, Giancarlo Esposito, David McCallum, and Sean Mayer. This is the next movie in the New 52 universe, whatever you want to call it, of DC animated films. So this one followed Justice League War. And, the graphic novel, by the way, I believe is called Batman and Son, not Son of Batman. It's a little bit different, but,
yeah.
But I had never read the graphic novel. And so, but I had heard of Damian Wayne before this movie came out and kind of knew who he was. What about you, Stu?
Same. I'd heard of Damian Wayne. I knew who he was. I knew the backstory, but I hadn't read the graphic novel, Batman. But I did read Batman and Robin when Dick Grayson had become Batman for a time, and
oh, cool.
Damian Wayne was his Robin. I did read that, but I hadn't read the previous
Gotcha
novel.
I read a little bit of New 52 Batman, but it was like Court of Owls stuff. It wasn't. I don't think Damian Wayne hadn't come into the picture yet. I don't think.
Court of Owls, by the way, is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's very good stuff. And so so Damian Wayne I knew was the fourth Robin now, I guess, if you don't count Carrie Kelly, because that technically is in the future.
I guess he would
be Dick Grayson, Jason, Todd, Tim Drake, and then Damian Wayne, right?
There's another one. Stephanie Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's in between.
So the fifth.
Yeah. But nobody really knows about Stephanie Brown.
So anyway, the premise of this is that Talia al Ghul drugged Bruce Wayne, basically got herself pregnant, and then had a child and never told Bruce Wayne, raised him with the League of Assassins. So he was raised to be a ninja assassin, essentially.
Yeah.
And then Deathstroke comes in the very beginning and attacks. I don't know what when I first saw it in the movie, I was like, Camertage, because that's what it looked like from like Doctor Strange. But I don't actually know what it's called, what their like little base is.
They mention it in the movie. It's later in the movie, not at the beginning, but I can't remember the name of it. I'm gonna try to look for it now. Nope, doesn't say.
Doesn't say. And I did take a few notes for this movie, and actually one of the first notes I wrote was about, so Deathstroke shows up with like an army of people, and they're in helicopters, and they've got like miniguns in the helicopters, and they just start mowing down the League of Assassins.
I really do like the opening of this movie. It's pretty awesome.
It's a pretty good opening, but the note I wrote was the League of Assassins are no match for big guns. Like it's even, I think it even shows them like running to get weapons, and they just grab swords, and I'm like, I don't know what those swords are really going to do against helicopters with miniguns.
Yeah, I don't know about that. At one point, Talia al Ghul just takes one of the guys' a bow and arrow.
Oh yeah.
And just shoots one of the guys in the helicopter.
That was pretty sweet, actually.
And then she goes to get a minigun.
Right.
She completely bypasses the minigun the first time.
And she's like,
I'm going to try the bow and arrow first.
Right.
Then when she sees that's not very efficient, then she goes for the minigun.
What's funny is Damian Wayne immediately goes for a gun. Somebody falls in front of him, and he just grabs a pistol and just starts killing people. And I was like, wow. So the other first note I wrote was Giancarlo Esposito plays Ra's al Ghul in this. And I said, he's a good choice for Ra's al Ghul. However, every time he speaks, all I see is Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. It's like, I can't not see that. So it's a little tough, but he does have a a good presence. I think he was a good choice for Ra's al Ghul.
No, absolutely. I kind of feel like his casting was wasted because he's
Killed off in the beginning.
Yeah, he's killed off in the beginning, but he's so good for the role. It's just unfortunate that we don't get to see him for more than like 2 minutes. He has like 4 lines.
Right. Yeah. No, so it's not very much.
It's unfortunate.
I forget. Can you remind me why Deathstroke is attacking Ra's al Ghul's base? Like, what was the point of that?
It's because he was excommunicated from the
he was just bitter.
Shadows.
That's right. Okay. Trying to prove that he was the better.
Yeah, because he says, I was your right hand man. I was supposed to be next in line, and you just discarded me.
That's right. Okay, that's right. Thank you for that reminder. I just I've got the movie playing right now, and I was like, wait a minute, why does Deathstroke attack? And that's right. So, and this is all pre-opening title. This is all like the first 10 minutes of the movie are kind of the prologue, essentially. You know, we see that Ra's al Ghul actually makes it within just inches of the
Lazarus Pit.
Lazarus Pit. Thank you. Gosh, I couldn't think of what it was called. My brain is starting to turn off already, I think. Just inches, and Damian, of course, tries to put him in there, and Talia tells him not to. You know, and I guess it's because he couldn't get there on his own.
I think it was because he was too wounded, and he had died before he had gotten to the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah.
However, I know that this is not canon.
Right.
And this the movie that I'm about to mention is not canon within this universe.
Okay.
But it still kind of bothered me a little bit. Under the Red Hood. Jason Todd, who was very much dead.
Yes. Beaten to death and then exploded. And even he came back from the Lazarus Pit.
Yeah. But Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's, whatever they call him. I think they call him Ra's.
They call him Ra's in this movie.
Yeah. So Ra's al Ghul could not come back in his own pit, having not been beaten up to death. But he was pretty, Cajun looking.
He was
crisp.
Burnt to crisp. That's true. But I feel like I feel like that was an oversight. I feel like maybe they just ignored the fact that Jason Todd went through much worse and came back perfectly fine. Right.
I mean, he came back crazy, but
right. But his body was healed.
Nitpick.
Right.
Yeah, that's a nitpick, because like I said, it that movie doesn't take place in this universe right. of these movies, but
that's true. But I always kind of just assumed the Lazarus Pit was able to do that. Like it healed. I mean, it was like it can bring you back to life, so it can also heal your wounds and stuff like that. I just assumed it was, so I don't know why. I just kind of assumed it was kind of almost maybe like an honor thing, like Talia was like, oh, he couldn't quite make it himself, so it's, we shouldn't put him in it, I guess, or something. I don't know. But
then I kind of thought that, because a lot of iterations of Talia kind of wants Ra's al Ghul to die.
Right.
So her and Batman can take over the league.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe that could have been it. And Damian is an impressionable kid.
Right.
So maybe that could have been it. But again, it's a nitpick, but it still bothered me.
Yeah. I was actually not super looking forward to rewatching this movie because I remembered not liking it. And actually watching it again, so this is only the second time I've ever seen it. I watched it probably in 2014 when it first came out, and then yesterday. And watching it again, I actually found myself enjoying it. It's actually a pretty decent movie. I just have two really big complaints, and one of them I think
I know one of them, and I think I may know the other one, but
you probably do.
I definitely know one of them, because I think you and I have the same complaint.
Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and get into that. My first complaint is And I looked on Letterboxd. I was looking on Letterboxd reviews to see what other people thought, and nobody mentioned this. And so I'm like, surely I cannot be the only one who thinks this. But my big complaint and the biggest problem of the movie for me is Deathstroke was miscast.
Absolutely. Thomas Gibson does not belong in this movie at all.
Yeah, right, at all. Thomas Gibson is a fine actor. He was, but he just sounds like somebody trying to be intimidating.
He sounds like someone I want to punch in the face.
Yes, exactly.
He sounds like a complete douche.
Yeah. He does not pull it off at all.
No.
He there was a scene, one of my notes is when he comes to visit Kirk Langstrom, and Kirk Langstrom doesn't know who he is. The scene ends and he's like, "Who are you?" And he goes, "My name is Slade Wilson. But you may call me
Deathstroke." Like, what? Who talks like that?
I wanted it to cut back to Kirk Langstrom and he just was going That's what I wanted, because that's what it felt like. Like, I was kind of trying not to laugh in that scene.
Oh man, Thomas Gibson is so cringy in this movie.
It's awful, man. And Deathstroke is such a cool villain, and he's good. And like, he does some cool stuff in this movie.
Absolutely.
But Thomas Gibson just does not pull it off. He's just not Deathstroke.
They could have gotten anybody.
I wish I could have been in like the casting session. Okay, who should we get to be Deathstroke? And somebody goes, "Hey, I got an idea." And I go, "Okay, what about Greg from Dharma and Greg?"
Hey, you know what? This was one of the last movies that Andrea Romano did.
Yeah.
Before she retired. But I refuse to believe that was her decision.
Yeah, I know.
That had to be someone else's decision.
It had to be. It had to be like Thomas Gibson was like a producer's friend or something. It was like, "I want to be in one of your movies." I don't know, man. It's just everybody else is pretty good. Even the kid that plays Damian, I think, is good, even though this is my other complaint. Damian is quite the annoying character.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But Damian is annoying in the comics. So
right.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah. And so the kid plays him well.
Yes.
But
they keep the same actor throughout the the universe.
Yeah.
So as Damian grows up, or as the voice actor grows up, so does Damian.
Right, which
is
pretty
cool.
Like that. Yeah. That's pretty sweet. So overall, I actually enjoyed the movie more. It's every time Deathstroke is on screen, it's just tough to watch.
You want to hit mute. I know.
Right, yeah, you do. You want to hit mute and just do the voice yourself or something.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretend that this is Ron Perlman.
Yeah, there you go.
That was definitely my biggest complaint. My other complaint, skipping ahead a little bit, were the Deathstroke's plan, like the army of man-bat assassins.
Yeah,
I didn't like that.
Yeah, it's a little weird too. It's kind of like, that's your plan. Yeah, it's
because other than that, the story's pretty grounded.
Yeah.
And then you just get these army of man-bats out of nowhere,
right? And
it's like, I don't think Deathstroke would have that plan.
Right. Yeah, that's true. It's a
little too out there.
Kirk Langstrom was originally working for Raish, right?
Yes.
And so then Deathstroke shows up and he's like, "Now you're working for me."
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it was because of that, like maybe the plan had already kind of been put in place, and so Deathstroke just kind of took it over, or.
But I think that the plan was adjusted. So
once
I
Deathstroke
don't
got on board.
Yeah. I think that Kirk Langstrom was supposed to enhance the league.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were supposed to be man-bats.
Okay, gotcha. The one thing I thought was not explained, or maybe I just missed it, was the fact that Kirk Langstrom had already been Man-Bat and kind of, I guess, cured himself and was now, doing other mutagen kind of work.
Yeah.
Because it's I forget where they are, but there's a part where Batman looks up and sees some man bats, and he goes, "Man bats," and I was like, "What? How does he know?" And then I think, and then after that scene, Kirk Langstrom has a line about how he's like, "I don't do that anymore," or some, and I was like, "Okay, so he's already
They allude to the fact that he's already been man bat and has cured himself, because he does mention if anyone ever catches me up to my excuse me.
And that's the line.
He does mention that if anyone ever catches me up to my experiments again, I will go to jail for sure.
Yeah. And I think that scene comes after Batman saying "man bats," which is why I was like, okay, I put it together at that point, but I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think anything is mentioned before that Kirk Langstrom has previously done stuff. And so I felt like that could have been done a tiny bit better.
I agree. I think that the writers just assumed that we already knew that he had been man bat before, which I had already assumed.
Gotcha.
But I do agree that could have been explained better.
Yeah. Well, since this is like, I mean, Justice League War is essentially the origin of the Justice League. I feel like this is still fairly new, in the Batman universe. Like, although it does show him walking through Arkham and we see Two-Face, Joker, Killer Croc.
Yeah.
So I guess all these villains maybe have been established already.
Well, see, the thing, this universe is based on the New 52 universe.
Right.
And when the New 52 universe starts, Batman has been Batman for 5 years.
Gotcha.
So
Man Bat was already, it had happened within that 5-year range. Probably.
So, but the thing is about this universe, because Robin is Nightwing already, he's clearly been Batman.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Than 5 years.
I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're introducing Damian Wayne, they don't mention Jason Todd or Tim Drake or anything. It's just Dick Grayson that they mention in this movie.
Right. Jason Todd and Tim Drake don't exist in it.
But you're right. He's been Batman for a while. I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. For some reason, when Kirk Langstrom showed up, what I was going to say was I was assuming they were introducing kind of because I couldn't remember I hadn't seen this movie in 8 years, so I couldn't remember. But I was kind of assuming they were introducing like maybe another villain and having Man Bat. He was going to end up experimenting on himself, and Man Bat was going to become a thing in this movie. So when it was an army of Man Bats, that threw me off just a little bit. But now that you have talked me through it, it makes sense.
Glad I could be of assistance.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So aside from Deathstroke, aside from Thomas Gibson, how do you feel about the voice acting in this film overall?
Overall, it's pretty good. I love Morena Baccarin as Talia. We get a little bit of a Firefly reunion with her and
Sean Maher. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I like her as Talia. I like I forget his name. Stuart
Allen.
Stuart Allen as Damian. I think the person who stands out though is Sean Maher as Nightwing. I think he does a fantastic job as Nightwing.
Yeah, he does. He does. Also, Alfred in this movie. Yeah. I love Alfred in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene when Damian he's showing Damian to his room.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, "Oh, Pennyworth, give me some tea and some lemon and brown sugar, not white." And he says, "Would you like a hot towel or something like that?"
Right.
And Damian says, "Don't think because I'm young that I don't understand sarcasm." And Alfred says, "I'm much too old to care."
Yeah.
I love how snarky he is in this movie. He very much reminds me of Jeremy Irons.
Right. Yeah.
Alfred in this movie.
I like when Alfred's a little snarky. There's a scene.
I love it.
And I'm not going to remember the line exactly, but there is a scene like the next day, Damian's out with a sword practicing like on the grounds, and he's cutting down shrubbery. And I think Alfred says something like, I'm voting on the shrubbery. Like he's hoping he's basically like, I want the shrubbery to win.
He says, I guess we can cancel the gardener for this month.
All right, yeah, that too, yeah. It's pretty good. But I like how he's basically just like, I don't like this kid. And honestly, none of us do.
Nobody does. I mean, I like Damian. I'm not gonna lie. I like Damian. I like that he's unlikable.
Mm-hmm.
And it creates a really interesting dynamic for Batman because he's always, for the most part, worked with a Robin that he kind of likes, with the exception of Jason Todd. But I feel like Damian is way more of a butthole than Jason Todd.
Yes. I think the thing I don't like about Damian, I don't mind that he's annoying or he's unlikable. I think the thing that really kind of bugs me about Damian, at least in this movie, and I'm be curious to read the comic and see how he is in the comic. Mm-hmm. He's too overpowered. He's too OP, I think. He's like, Nightwing does get the better of him in that fight, but Nightwing is all cut up and bleeding. Yeah. And then like, I mean, he's only supposed to be like 10 years old. And so, you know,
I think he's younger than that. I think he's like
really? 8. Okay, so even younger. And he can go up against Deathstroke. I do like, though, in the very beginning of the movie, that he's the one that like stabs Deathstroke in the eye, which that was brutal. Yeah. When that happened, I was like, dang.
Yeah, but there was a lot of blood in that first in that opening act.
Yeah, it was pretty. And I was like, which one? It's only rated PG-13, but yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. I was like, dang, this is a brutal opening.
Yeah.
But then he like breaks into Wayne Manor and he's like talking about like how the business is failing and how, you know, he's like, you've got this problem. I'm like, come on. You're like, no, come on. It's one thing to be like a really good fighter, but to be like, I mean, I know he's a Wayne, and so he's getting kind of the smarts from Bruce Wayne, that part of his genetics or whatever, but I just didn't buy that.
Well, the thing is, look at who his grandfather is. His grandfather is Ra's al Ghul,
sure,
who is just as smart, it may be smarter than Batman.
Yeah.
So, in that context, it does make sense that he is not only skilled in hand-to-hand combat and what do you call it? Sword fighting?
Fencing,
sword fighting,
swordsmanship. It's not exactly fencing, because fencing I think is a different type of swordsmanship. Maybe that's
So he's proficient in hand-to-hand combat and swordsmanship, and so it does make sense that he would also be
business savvy.
Yeah, business savvy. But one thing that they do kind of implement to offset that is that he's not much of a strategist.
Right.
He's very, very impulsive to a fault.
Right.
And he does not plan anything at all.
Right. Yeah, he almost gets caught. Like there's one point where he runs in and Batman stops him and makes him look through the binoculars and sees that there's security cameras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's true. I don't know. They make him very OP in my opinion, and it's hard to swallow at times.
I understand it.
Even though I know his dad is Bruce Wayne, his grandfather's Ra's al Ghul, but at the same time he's 8 years old, like you said. I mean, come on. But yeah.
Jim Gordon is in this movie briefly. Who plays Jim Gordon?
I don't know. I was actually just about to look that up. A guy named Bruce Thomas, same guy that plays the voice for Ubu. So he's a voice actor, I guess. No, because I don't recognize his face. Actually, I do recognize his face now that I say that.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He was in Army of Darkness as Mini Ash, number 2. But I think he does a lot of voice work. It looks like so.
We also got Killer Croc in this movie briefly, who is mutated even further because of the mutagen he's been taking from Langstrom.
He's got a tail now.
He's got a tail now. And I do like that scene where where Batman is questioning Killer Croc and Arkham Asylum and he just rips off his tail.
and
Like I thought that was great.
And I like how he goes, they want to medicate you, but they're too afraid to get close to you. He's like, I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
That scene was pretty cool.
Yeah.
This movie is better than I remember it. It's just, it's so hurt by the Deathstroke thing.
Yeah, I agree. The Deathstroke thing and the whole Man Bat
and the Man Bat.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah. Which I'd be curious if that was in the comic or not. It's too far-fetched.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Even if it was in the comic, I probably wouldn't like it.
I looked a little bit on, or maybe I read it on one of the Letterboxd reviews that somebody said that it veers from the source material. So I wonder if the whole Man Bat thing was created for the movie.
I mean, a good chunk of these movies do that. They veer from the source material, but this just seems. The whole Man Bat aspect just seems just too out there for Deathstroke. I could see another villain doing that, but not Deathstroke.
Yeah, it feels like it's too out there, and it feels like they are too unpredictable. It's like Deathstroke can't control them really, and so and you wouldn't think that Deathstroke would really rely on something he couldn't control. Deathstroke is a strategist,
absolutely,
and so he is somebody that would not just leave things to chance.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So you're right. That is a little bit tough to swallow as well. I wrote, Sean Mayer as Nightwing is awesome. I do like, it's, this movie is PG-13 and I feel like it kind of pushes the boundaries, especially with the violence. But one of my favorite moments is, and I don't even remember what Damian says to Nightwing, but Nightwing is getting patched up by Alfred, and Damian says something, and he's like, "Why don't you shut the?" And Alfred has to like cut him off.
Yeah, I do remember that. That moment definitely made me chuckle. This movie is funnier than I remember.
Yeah, it is.
We get a couple Bat vehicles in this movie. We get the Batmobile and the Batwing.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of the Batmobile.
No, I wasn't either. I was gonna ask you about that. When I saw it yesterday, not my favorite Batmobile design. It's okay.
I don't like the red.
I don't either. The red canopy or whatever. Yeah. I'm not a fan of that either. I think they could have done better. And again, I don't remember what his Batmobile looks like from the New 52 comics. So if that was adapted from that, or if they just did that design for this movie, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. When it comes to the Batmobile in the comics, it's usually whoever the artist is.
Right, just whatever they want to do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if even though, the New 52 is one universe, I wouldn't be surprised if he had like 3 or 4 different Batmobiles in that universe.
Yeah, good point.
Another one of my favorite parts is on when Damian goes to confront Ubu.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings the ladies of the night back to his penthouse, and Damian attacks him, and the chicks run out, and one of them is like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Yeah. There was another funny line in that scene too. I can't remember what it is now, but it was kind of in the beginning, like when Ubu's pouring her a drink or something. One of them says something kind of funny, but yeah, I can't remember what it is, so I'll cut that part out. But but again, like you said, the jokes were, it was funnier than I recall.
Yeah, the comedy works in this movie. There weren't too many times where I rolled my eyes because it was corny. I feel like they knew what they were doing with the jokes in this movie, and it kind of made me think, why can't they necessarily do that in live action? Because that's one thing that doesn't quite work with the DC movie sometimes, is the humor.
Right.
Sometimes it feels forced in live action, and here, while this isn't necessarily a comedy or a funny movie, it has humor dispersed throughout, and the humor works really well.
Right.
I just it just makes me wonder why can't they do that in live action without making it feel goofy.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. It's a good question. Because like you said, it works in this, and this doesn't have a goofy feel to it by any means.
No.
Other than Thomas Gibson as Deathstroke. But I mean, it doesn't. It plays very serious. It's a serious animated Batman movie.
Yeah.
But it has those funny moments that work.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why they don't. I saw a complaint. Well, somebody posted on Reddit, and it was a bad review of the Batman. And it was basically the guy that wrote the review basically said like 176 minutes long and, not a single laugh or something like that, which. And then one of the Redditor comments said that thumb drive joke was pretty great, though. It was like,
yeah,
it was just a different type of comedy, I guess, in that film. I mean, there's not
it
not
was
like
dry.
It was dry humor.
Because the movie is like that,
right?
So
I've always had a problem with that complaint. Like there was a podcast I used to listen to, and that guy used to complain too about no laughs in a movie, and I'm going, I don't know. I mean, yes, I think sometimes you kind of need moments of levity, but not every movie.
And the Batman does have
right
the moment those moments of levity, but they're not laugh out loud moments. They're like
they're not like knee slapping.
Yeah,
exactly. And so, and not every movie needs that. I think it was if the Batman had that, it would feel really out of place.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I've never understood that complaint really.
That's a personal preference. That's
exactly.
That's not a fundamental flaw of a movie. That just means you like to laugh.
Right. I agree.
Cause I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I like my movies serious and dark, but I mean, when movies aren't like that, I don't necessarily call them terrible movies unless they overdo it.
Right.
But I recognize that's a personal preference. That's not a fundamental flaw.
Yeah. Side note, I kind of personally feel like I'm a lover of all genres of movies, Mm-hmm. I like dramas, comedies, action, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Christian Bale movie that came out years ago called Flowers of War. Did you ever see that?
No.
I think it was like Chinese funded. Christian Bale's the only
white actor
really out of like, because it takes place in an Asian country, probably in China. And anyway, I thought it was really good. And my friend this was when I was in California. I had quit working at Blockbuster at this point, but my friend Neil, who's a good friend of mine, was like the store manager of a store. And this was like months before they all shut down. And so I went in there and to just kind of visit him and just look at movies and stuff. And he was, I think, putting movies back on the shelf. So I was following him around and I went, "Oh, Flowers of War." I was like, did you see this? And he goes, "Nah, it's a drama." And I was like, wow.
What
I was like, all right. You're just like not going to watch a whole genre of film because they're not funny, I guess. Like that's usually, he goes for comedies more than anything. Comedies and action probably. And he does love superhero movies, but yeah, he just dismissed it outright. He's like, "No, it's a drama."
I mean, I used to kind of be like that when it came to musicals, and I'm still kind of like that, but
sure.
I've gotten I've been giving them a chance lately, and like last year I watched La La Land for the first time, and I fell in love with that movie. That movie's fantastic. But I can understand, not. I understand that people have their preferences and
sure.
and wanting to laugh is a form of escapism, because oftentimes real life is not funny.
Right,
So,
yeah. Right. And musicals I can understand more so than drama. Like drama is just such a huge genre. I mean, so many movies.
Broad.
Yeah, it's so broad. Like musicals, my brother doesn't really care for musicals either, and I think it's just some people, and I don't know if this is why you didn't like them or not, but some people just have a hard time kind of getting into that mindset where people could just like break out into song and like,
yeah. And for me, it's more specifically the musicals where they sing the entire movie.
Right.
I can't do it. Like
Les Mis.
Les Mis. In the Heights,
Right.
that was and they were like they were either singing or rapping, and I'm like, listen, I love
Yeah.
music as much as the next person, but I can't do this.
Right.
I can't do this. And that it was excruciating to get through In the Heights.
Did you watch Hamilton when it came on Disney Plus? Because
no,
Hamilton.
I won't.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't like it. I didn't know going into Hamilton that that's what it was, but it is from beginning to end. There's no dialogue in that show at all. It's just song after song after song, and they tell the story through song, and they do a very good job, and the songs are really good. But yeah, I got to see Les Mis on Broadway when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And that I don't know what you call that type of, like, I don't know if that's considered, because that's what opera is, right? Like, opera is just wall-to-wall songs, and there's no dramatic, like, scenes in between or anything. And so I had never seen a musical like that before. I thought musicals were song, scenes of dialogue, then another song, like, like a Disney movie.
Like a Disney movie, yeah.
And so I went into Les Mis. I was in high school. We took a trip to New York, and we go see Les Mis. We're sitting literally in the very back row of the theater. We were like we were at the wall. And there was no breaks in the music. And if you don't know the lyrics, because I don't know, just like, it's hard to follow along if you don't know what they're saying, I guess.
Right.
And so,
especially with opera.
Right. And so, and Les Mis, maybe I could have, but it's just, I got lost very early on, and then I just I didn't know what was going on, and there was no breaks in the music, and that felt like the longest show I had ever, like, sat through.
I believe you, because once you get lost, it's hard to get yourself back in.
Right. So for me, Les Mis, I used to think Les Mis was like the worst. And then the movie came out, and I was like, all right, well, now at least I'm prepared. And so I went and saw the movie, and I actually loved the movie. And so now I really like the show. Like, I really wish I could go see it on Broadway again. But that's because now I know the songs and the music, and so. But yeah, there was, in high school, man, I was like bored to tears in that show because I just did not know what was going on.
Oh man, yeah, musicals are not for me. Yeah, well, for the most part, musicals like that, are not for me. But if it's like La La Land or Grease, I can.
Right,
I
sure,
can
yeah. Moulin Rouge. Have you seen that one?
No, that doesn't look like my
Oh, really? It's not wall-to-wall music, but they do use like modern music. Like, my brother had so my brother's not a musical fan anyway. We're getting way off topic here. My brother's not a musical fan, but I showed him Moulin Rouge back when it like first came out. And at one point, it's not like the main characters. It's kind of like the chorus, I guess, if you will. They break into Smells Like Teen Spirit from Nirvana, and my brother was like, I'm done. He's like, I can't do this anymore. Because it's supposed to be a
period piece?
It is, yeah. I was going to say, it's supposed to be, I forget what year. It's supposed to be either early 1900s or something like that, in Paris. And so, but they sing, like, there's a medley. One of my favorite songs in the movie is a medley of love songs. And so they sing Kiss and U2 and David Bowie and all that stuff all in one song, and it's really good.
I don't know about that.
It's anachronistic, I guess, but it's very, very well done.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
We'll see. So anyway, Son of Batman, not a musical.
How do you like the look of Damian once he is Robin?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever really been a fan of Damian's Robin costume. It kind of has that sort of ninja-esque look to it, and I like, my favorite Robin, I think, is Batman the Animated Series Robin.
Yeah.
That I think is one of the coolest looks. I do like that whoever decided, and animated series might have done this too. Whoever decided to give him like a black cape with the yellow underneath rather than just a bright yellow cape. was pretty smart.
I agree with that. That's the one thing I don't like about Damian's costume is that he has a yellow cape with like a torn black hood over it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
what is the point of that?
Yeah,
but other than that, I think his costume is pretty cool.
It's not bad by any means.
No, it's not your favorite.
It's just not my favorite. Yeah. But you're right. The weird black torn part on top is strange. Now that you mention it, because you're right. He does have a yellow cape.
Mm-hmm.
It is bizarre. I don't know what that torn hood is supposed to be. I mean, he wears a hood occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like not, I guess it's not part of the cape. It's just ripped from something else.
Right. I don't know. I guess, what is my favorite Robin design? I guess it would be Batman the animated series.
Yeah.
But I'm very fond of Young Justice.
Oh yeah.
Which is more black than green. It still has green in there. Still has the red chest, but it looks way more stealthier and believable than green tights. Right. But I really like that look.
Yeah.
For Robin, I think Tim Drake, he had that look, but because I think I could be wrong, but I think he may have been the first one to have pants.
Well, maybe, yeah, because in animated series it's green tights. Is that right?
Well, yeah, he had green tights, but did the animated series come out before Tim Drake was a thing?
That's a good question.
I don't remember. I don't know when Tim Drake came out, but
I know from the Arkham games, like if you choose, because you can get different skins for Robin.
Yeah,
and one of them, and I think it's the Tim Drake like version, is like all red, and I don't like that quite as much. I think the green kind of helps. Like the red and green looks good together.
Yeah, he had the he wore the all red when he went like on his own.
Oh, okay.
So he was still Robin, but he just wasn't with Batman.
Gotcha.
And I like it, but again, that's not one of my favorites.
Right.
I would choose the green and red over that, and the Young Justice one with the black and red with the green trim.
Now that you mention it about Tim Drake, I think you're right, because when Jason Todd got killed, I'm pretty sure he was in the green trunks with the bare legs and the elf shoes. So yeah, I think he
looked almost identical to
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson, yeah.
So I think you might be right. Yeah, whoever created Tim Drake and decided to put him in pants was a smart move.
We get to see a little bit of the other bat suits in the Batcave.
I thought that was kind of cool. Like we saw the yellow chest symbol. We saw, and when Damian first sees the Robin costume, it is that old school Burt Ward costume, and he's like, somebody actually wore this, He's like, so I thought that was pretty good.
That's one thing that I would like to see in live action again is the yellow bat signal.
Me too.
I don't know how they would make it work, but I would like to see that.
Assuming the Flash ever comes out and we see the Michael Keaton Batman in that, I'm pretty sure will have the yellow. It'll be the Batman Returns suit, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or very similar to the Batman Returns suit. But no, I agree. I think like Pattinson's Batman wouldn't work with the yellow symbol, but I think Affleck's Batman could. So I agree. Most live action ever since even Clooney's Batman didn't technically have the yellow. They put black on black for that.
Right.
So the
Kilmer was the last one.
Kilmer was the last one. So
his bat suit is severely underrated. I love his bat suit.
His aside from the nipples, his bat suit is
well,
fantastic.
Yeah.
No, I agree. The Batman Forever bat suit is a good suit. But yeah, I would like to see the yellow come back. Even in the comics and stuff, they don't really do it anymore. It's
right now they got like a yellow outline,
which I'm not a huge fan of.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it either.
No. So I understand why they do it. It's kind of, especially in the movies, that it's the bright yellow kind of seems a little, but it works in the Keaton movies and it works in Batman Forever, in my opinion. So,
and it has a function in the comics is to draw
it's supposed to be a target. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think it could work. I would like to see it return as well.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll ever see another live action Rob. Well, I mean, there's the Titans TV show, but I'm talking about in the movies. I wonder if we'll ever see Robin come back.
I
like in costume, not just like John Blake,
Yeah. I believe so. I very much would love to see Matt Reeves' version of Robin. Like I could totally see Matt Reeves adapting Dark Victory. Oh, that would be. Oh, I'm getting chills just think about it. Oh, I would love that. I would love that. But yeah, I do think that we will see Robin again. Maybe not soon, but I
eventually
I do think we'll see a traditional Robin again.
That'd be cool. So one of the notes I wrote was, I have two more notes, and one of them is towards the end of the film. I wrote, I'm not entirely sure that I believe Damian wouldn't kill Deathstroke. Like, it's supposed to be that he's learned, he's been with Bruce now and he's kind of learned a little bit. But he literally, seconds before that, runs off. Batman's like, Damian, he goes, I'm going to end him, I swear. And then decides not to. And I was just like, I don't know if I believe it.
It feels like there's some stuff missing, and I'm glad you brought that up. This movie is a little too quickly paced.
Right.
Because he becomes Robin
very quickly.
Like officially Robin, like I don't even think it's half the movie.
Right.
He's already in the Robin suit. And then from there, they're trying to figure out Deathstroke's plan. And it just I don't know, a lot of the movie seems very expedited, and the part that you mentioned with him like dead set on killing Deathstroke, and then in a matter of seconds deciding not to,
right,
after he has spent this entire movie trying
to kill Deathstroke. Yes,
it just feels very expedited.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's this movie is 74 minutes long. And I've noticed that a lot of the animated movies that are coming out now are 80 something to 90 minutes. They're getting a little bit longer. And I wonder if this film would have been a little better if they had those extra 15 minutes to fill in some of those, make it just stretch it out just a little bit longer so that it becomes a little bit more believable that he becomes Robin so quickly, or we actually believe that he does learn that lesson that he shouldn't kill, and stuff like that. I don't know. 15 minutes would be enough. But you're right. This movie does feel like it's a little too quick.
Yeah. And again, he doesn't really feel like he's actually learned his lesson.
No.
And I think part of that is because of the writing, the dialogue, like a lot of things that are said, especially on Batman's part. They feel like they're it feels like he's saying them because he's supposed to say them.
Right.
And there's not much nuance to the dialogue.
Right.
Which there isn't a whole lot of that in these movies, but this movie in particular is the biggest perpetrator of that.
Right. Yeah.
Again, I still enjoy the movie. It definitely has some pretty cool qualities.
Well, the last note I wrote, and they don't really talk about this, and I don't think it ever comes back within the series of movies. But I wrote that I kind of like how this is essentially, because this is kind of a Deathstroke origin story. You know, he's got both eyes in the beginning of the film. Damian is the one that stabs him in the eye, so that's why he's got the eye patch for the rest of the film. So I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think Deathstroke was a villain like somebody Batman knew about or anything until these events, right? Correct. Unlike Man-Bat and Joker and Two-Face and stuff. So what I wrote was I kind of like this movie's essentially a backstory to how Deathstroke is the Teen Titans nemesis, except it would just be and Damian Wayne does become part of the Teen Titans in this movie universe. Yeah. But I don't know if Deathstroke comes back. I can't remember. If it does, it's not Thomas Gibson. Okay, so they did decide to recast him, thankfully. But I wrote that like because his whole vendetta with Damian and everything, that's like it basically kind of becomes the backstory. I thought it was kind of cool how it was basically the backstory for how he becomes the Teen Titans nemesis. This movie, I can kind of put it.
That's interesting. I don't know. I just the way they handle Deathstroke in this movie is very much underwhelming. He's not as smart as he should be, right? And he's piggybacking off of somebody else's plan, and
right. That's true.
He's miscast. that's the biggest
Badly
problem.
Miscast, yeah.
He looks cool. I mean, Deathstroke has always
right.
looked cool.
Right. Yeah. He always looks cool, but when he opens his mouth in this movie, it's trouble.
But yeah, I do like him better when he returns in Judas Contract.
He is in that movie. Okay, that's another one I've only seen once, and I don't remember him in it, so I wasn't sure if he came back.
He's much better.
Okay,
he's much better in Judas Contract.
Most of these animated films I've only seen once. I buy them, I watch them once, and then I don't really rewatch them. So I'm enjoying doing more for the podcast because I'm getting to rewatch them. And like this one, I actually had, in my brain had put as one of the worst ones, and it's actually, I don't think it is. It's not one of the best, but it probably falls somewhere in the middle for me.
In the middle, yeah. Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Or maybe in the lower end. But I mean, I don't know.
It's not at the bottom.
It's not. Yeah, and I don't. I'd be curious what is at the bottom.
Oh, I know which one is at the bottom for me.
Well, I remember you said you don't like Reign of Superman. Is that the one at the bottom?
Yeah. Woo.
And see, I don't remember not liking that movie, so I'm looking forward to whenever we get to that one, rewatching it. But
well, don't let my distaste for it
right
influence you. I sincerely hope you enjoy it because I've watched it twice. I don't enjoy it.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have to rewatch it before we get to the podcast just to see what I think about it. Because I know I love Death of Superman, and I think I liked Reign of Superman just because it was fun finally getting to see, and even if in animated form, the Cyborg Superman and the Eradicator and Superboy and Steel. It was kind of fun seeing that. But story wise, I don't remember. I don't know.
So it's ridiculous. Story wise, it's ridiculous.
Well, maybe the comic was ridiculous too. I mean, there's the big comic I've got, The Return of Superman, where most of it is those 4 Supermen going around doing crazy things. Might also be. I mean, it was the 90s. It probably is ridiculous. So yeah, I can't hear it. I've got the movie on, and it's at the part where Damian had a gun to Deathstroke, and Deathstroke has got the gun to Talia, and so he puts the gun down and he's talking to Damian, and I'm just hearing it in Thomas Gibson's voice. You arrogant little brat. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Goodbye, boy. Well,
he's
anyway,
trying too hard. Tom was
trying. I think he was trying too hard. Like I said, I don't think Thomas Gibson is a bad actor. I just don't think he was just definitely was not the right choice for Deathstroke.
No, not at all.
Well, Stu, I'd be curious to hear what you would rate this film.
I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
Okay, cool. My original, I looked it up on Letterboxd. My original rating was 2.5 for this movie, but I bumped it up a star or half a star, and I'm going 3 stars for this film. 3 out of 5.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 3.5 just because I found myself enjoying it a lot, and the thing that really stood out for me was the humor. It was a pretty funny movie. I found myself laughing and enjoying myself throughout the movie.
There's a lot more to enjoy about this movie. And honestly, when I saw my rating was 2.5, that was higher than I thought it would be. There's more to enjoy about this movie than I remember. The humor is really good. Most of the acting is pretty good except for Deathstroke. And then Sean Mayer as Nightwing, really, I mean, like, he really steals the show in my opinion. He's really good as Nightwing. Nightwing is really good in this movie. And Batman's really good in this movie. So it's just it's actually not a bad movie.
No, it's not.
Well, we'd love to know what you think of Son of Batman. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also leave us a comment on our Instagram or Twitter. You can it's both handles are at CinemaHeroes. We also you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, of course, you can comment down below. If you are watching on YouTube, we'd love for you to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Jay Stu.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.
You may call me Jay Stu.
That's our post credit right there.